My name is Josh Walker. This is the first time I'm on stage in my new role at Genius Sports. I was the CEO and co-founder of Sports Innovation Lab, and we were just acquired. And now we are talking about a very exciting opportunity in sports going forward, where we are taking a lot of the fan data that Sports Innovation Lab had worked on for years and combining it with the really deep and rich match data that Genius Sports has, so that we can actually hit fans with the exact message they want in the right moment. And that's going to be pretty much the theme of this panel. We have a tremendous array of talent on this panel. They all run very large global brands that have been very thoughtful about using research to show up authentically in the moment with the fans that they're trying to reach. And we are going to start out by having them all answer one simple question that's going to make you either like them or not, which is what's their favorite sports team, and a little bit of what they do. And then we're going to dive into the panel. So let's hit it. We're going to just go straight down the line.
All right. So hi, everybody. My name is Gustavo Cecilio. I have the pleasure to lead the FIFA World Cup initiative for PepsiCo Foods. And I grew up in Brazil, so I'm a big soccer fan. However, I've been a basketball player my entire life, not soccer player, basketball player. So my favorite team is the Chicago Bulls. Okay.
That's not going to win you a lot of enemies, but in New York it might. Okay.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, guys. Gerardo Soto. I work with Lowe. I'm the Vice President of Media and Sports Marketing. And I'm going to go with Gustavo here with soccer. It's my favorite sport, but it's difficult, right? You have a lot of sports that are all amazing.
Oh, you're already hedging. Go ahead.
I'm hedging, but it's still soccer, and my team is Barcelona.
Okay, Barcelona. Roderick?
Roderick Blaylock. I lead Casamigos at Diageo. I grew up in a basketball family, and my favorite sport, of course, because of that, is basketball. I date around when it comes to teams, but I'm going to go with the one that I'm going to stick with right now. I also used to work at the New York Knicks, so I'm going to go with the Knicks.
Go Knicks.
I'm going to go with the New York Knicks.
Go Knicks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler.
Let's go Knicks.
Yeah.
My name's Tyler Seidel. Thank you for having me. I'm a technology program director at IBM. I work on our sports and entertainment partnerships. So I work across iconic brands like the Masters, the US Open, tennis, as well as Wimbledon. My favorite team, unfortunately, I am a hardcore Mets fan. Hasn't been great for us lately, but who knows? It's always next year.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been that good for the other team in this town either. Gerardo, I want to start with you. It is Monday, and we tend to do Monday morning quarterbacking here in the U.S. to think about how things went on Sunday. You guys have a campaign that you run with the NFL. You want to tell people what it is and how Earn Your Sunday really works?
Sure thing. So Earn Your Sunday is our new campaign with the NFL. Super excited about how that is going. If you think about Lowe's in home improvement, right? We're not an endemic brand or an endemic retailer with sports. So we got to find what is our way in so that we can actually tie into what our fans and consumers are looking for, right? And from a home improvement perspective, who here doesn't have a to-do list at home that you need to get through in the weekend, right? And so when you tie that back to what the players actually do on a day-to-day basis, right? They're training hard. They're doing all of the things that they need to get done to get to that Sunday in the best shape possible, right? And so that's the tie-in between you getting your to-do list, your home improvement to-do list, and our players and earning that Sunday, that well-earned Sunday.
And how did the campaign go yesterday? Are you excited about what you launched? Was it the launch, or was it you've been running?
We launched actually at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, but yesterday, obviously, great game. I don't know if you guys watched it with New England and who was it? Buffalo. Fantastic game. Also, we're tied into Sunday Night Football, right? So you probably saw all of that branding there. Which is also part of our activation and how we make this more experiential. So it's been a couple of weeks now, and it's going fantastic.
Yeah, well, I can totally relate to it. By the time Sunday's over, all I want to do is just hit the couch, and I feel like I've earned it. So nobody better tell me I can't. Okay, Gustavo, let's talk about soccer. You guys are going to show up at the World Cup. You had to carve out a special way to talk to the fans. Can you give the audience a little bit of an understanding of sort of what your role with FIFA World Cup is going to be and which brands are going to take a dominant role?
Yeah. So for us, I would say there's investment in the FIFA World Cup in 2026. Here, it's going to be the biggest we have ever made. And we've been investing in sports consistently, but this is going to be massive. So I think it starts for us with that recognition of the evolution of soccer and what this event is going to represent here. So in terms of the FIFA World Cup, last time that we hosted the World Cup here was 1994. I don't know if you guys remember who won that World Cup. Brazil. That's what I do now. It's nostalgic.
This is what we were talking about.
We don't own anything anymore.
There's
we don't
the global
win any
soccer fan, and then there's the New York soccer fan. Everybody's like,
So that's interesting because it's a segue for us when we think about the World Cup and showing up in a very authentic and relevant way. I think we did a lot of work understanding the consumer. And if you look at soccer fans in the United States, I can tell you it's dramatically different from Europe. It's dramatically different from Latin America. So after we went deep on the consumer, we found segments of consumers. I think we crafted the strategy for our brands in the foods portfolio in a much more effective way. So we're going to be showing up big with our snacks brands, especially Lay's, and showing up very big with Quaker as well. But they're going to be talking to consumers differently. So Lay's is all about the American soccer consumer, which is someone that is excited about the event of FIFA, but not highly involved in who is playing where, who is the talent, but they want to jump in the bandwagon and be celebrating FIFA World Cup. And then you have on the other side, Quaker, which talking about the soccer parents, soccer families, and how you feel those soccer families across the journey. So for us, it's going to be one of the biggest investments ever. It's going to show up in communication. It's going to show up in retail activation, experiential across the cities, a lot of purpose-driven investments as well that tap into the community. So we're very excited.
So before I toss it to Roderick, tell everybody what you're doing with Lay's. Because I think most people are familiar with player of the game, but talk about what you're going to do. And
one of the properties that we acquired with the sponsorship is the Lay's Fan of the Match. So we're going to be selecting for each match of the World Cup, the fan of the match. So it's not the player of the match, it's the fan of the match. But this fan of the match is going to get all the perks of the player of the match. So they're going to have space in the pitch. They're going to give interviews. They're going to hold a trophy. So those experiences for a consumer, they're unforgettable. Someone that is going to be this fan of the match, or it's going to be a Quaker player escort, they're never going to forget this experience that they're going to live in 2026.
So you'll at least increase sales by 1 or 2.
So we hope we increase sales and market share for sure.
Yeah. Roderick, you guys are going big here too. Let's talk a little bit about how Casamigos shows up and what you guys did to prepare for this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question, and I've seen all the stats, that World Cup is about the equivalent of 14 Super Bowls. So with that in mind, we have to show up big. And so and again, logistically, this is a challenging one with Mexico, Canada, and the US. And so we're just going to be present at every possible touch point. For us, it's about really integrating our brand into the fan experience. So the fan fest, so to say, in the arena, using the marks and doing special products that are associated with FIFA. So for us, it's about really just being part of the fan experience, because I know the U.S., we were joking about the U.S. side of soccer. Until you go to a U.S. football match and you see the traditions there, it's very different from anything I've seen before. So just standing up, being up the whole experience, just cheering for your teams and your rivals, for me, that's very different. And so our brand has to get into that tradition of soccer, and that's what we're doing with the World Cup property.
And when Roderick and I were talking, there was this really cool thread that we were on, because I think of tequila as something from college where you just take a shot and you would move on, right? Your brand is very different now, and the message that you want to communicate and the reason you want to drive community around the beverage is to build that social experience. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that is going to like inform the way that the media is created or the way that you use certain platforms?
Absolutely. Tequila has had a reputation of being all about shots or, overconsumption, which is absolutely not true.
Never.
It is really a social connector. And if you think about the parallel between sports and social occasion, they go hand in hand. So our opportunity, what we've kind of addressed that as, is we're going after the social friendly occasions that bring people together, unite people. And sports is that. The most uniting thing. You could be rooting for the Mets or the Yankees, but you're all in service of sports. So it brings people together. And those things are what we believe our brand is at the center of because of how it was founded by two friends who came together to make a great liquid. And so for us, we're going after the margarita in this special occasion where friends are going to experience the World Cup together. No matter if you're Team Brazil or the U.S., go U.S., you're coming to celebrate and experience it together, and that's at the core of what we believe in Casamigos.
Yeah, and I think there's a really good parallel to the way that media has evolved, and Maria nailed it on the last panel. It's like sports is where brands want to be because there's a number of things that they all agree on, right? If I were to ask you guys this question, you'd say sports is that the last appointment television. Right? Yeah. Need to watch it live. People are going to be talking about it at the water cooler. 2 is that it lends itself to all kinds of really cool formats. You can do the full game, you can do highlights, you can do clips, you can do talk shows, you can do podcasts, you can do a lot of different things. And then the third thing is you can actually really be in the moment. And when you guys talk about authenticity, it's often being in the moment when there's a score, a touchdown, a penalty kick, whatever it is. Tyler, you guys are in the moment. I mean, the entire Masters, the entire U.S. Open. Talk a little bit about how IBM owns share of voice in those platforms and what you guys are trying to achieve when you build those apps, when you deliver those experiences to the fan.
So IBM, as you probably know, is more of a B2B company, right? But sports is a way to be B2B2C. So we've had partnerships with the U.S. Open, Wimbledon, the Masters for over 30 years. Our team, I lead the team that develops, designs, delivers those apps, those websites. So you come on site or you're watching from afar, you're downloading the app, you're seeing the scores come in, you're seeing every shot, every player, every hole for the Masters. And it doesn't just stop there. We have our brand that's not plastered. Of course, the Masters doesn't want to have everything plastered and logos all over the place. They want to keep it very clean. But that's just one touch point. There's other touch points as well. And it's really a great way to tell a story and show how we're doing it in a fun space within sports that we could tie back to business. So for instance, at the US Open, not just the millions of fans that come across the site who come on the grounds, we have to reach 14 million users who are using that app and website. We have to make sure that scales, that it's up and running. And because if the app is not up and running, it's a black eye to our brand. Our brand is on that app. But you come to the site, you see IBM on the server speed, you see it all around the grounds on the LED screens. But we're also doing things outside of the grounds too, where we're trying to reach fans in different ways in those areas that we're activating against. So here at Madison Square Park this year, we actually tried something new where we did a call on the shots, an AI-generated ping pong table. So fans were able to come to Madison Square Park during finals weekend and play their best game of ping pong and get an AI commentary based on how you're playing. And also there was opportunities. We had podcasts there. So we tried to make it really engage with the neighborhood of where these events are happening. And it's really a great way to build our brand and our brand presence in authentic ways.
How important, we talked a little bit about this beforehand, but how important is it that the fan knows they're using AI or they're using some advanced functionality from IBM? Is that critical? Like, does that need to come across in the experience, or do you want it to be underneath the covers?
Yeah, I think it's more authentic if we don't plaster it. We do have branding on there, so when we launch new features, like we launched Match Chat, built with IBM Watson X, and we had that branding within the app. And that was for the US Open as well as Wimbledon, but it was assistant. So behind the scenes, agents were understanding what your questions were about these players, about the match, and you were able to dive into the data. There's a lot of data, so it's a new way for fans to dive into that. So they're able to ask questions, how many aces did this player have in this match so far? What's the head-to-head record? But we didn't necessarily just scream for the rooftops that it's AI. We want fans to get interested in these types of experiences before we sell them that it's AI. But also, it's becoming a more common way for people to interact, especially with these assistants and how, OpenAI and all these other large language models that are out there are really changing the game. And, we really want to meet the fans in these experiences of how to get more comfortable.
Yeah. Gerardo, we talked about you guys owning Sunday, but how does Lowe's own the pregame and the postgame? What formats do you use? What channels do you use? How much do you rely on the athletes to tell the story for your brand? Give me a little bit of a sense of like, are you in studio with the talk shows? Are you on social? How has that all come to life?
Yeah, it's listen, TV continues to be important, right? And that's why we all do TV advertising, is where people are actually engaged watching the sports live. So it becomes a very important channel to get the brand message across. But as you mentioned, you cannot just restrict yourself to TV, right? This has to be a complete ecosystem of media and activations and experiential that's working all together so that you can reach fans in the different ways that they want to be reached, right? Great example is, we talked about this before, Josh, as well. There's co-viewing. So this is multi-generational. When you're watching a game, you're sitting there with the grandparents, the parents, the kids, right? Everybody's watching the game live on TV. But at the same time, we all know that we all fall to a second screen all the time, right? And so how are we showing up authentically when people are browsing or trying to figure out through X, right? What are all the scores of all the other games that they're engaging with? And so we leverage what our platforms can offer us. A great example of that is Trend Genius, right? And so if you're looking on X for a particular score or talking about sports, et cetera, that allows us to show up in the right moment and a continuation of what people are seeing or watching on TV. On top of that, with Football Night in America and with the Earn Your Sunday tour, we've been able to create this experiential truck that goes around. We're in multiple stadiums, engaging with fans during the tailgate. We're offering them things that are exclusive for loyalty members, so you can actually go into this amazing experiential truck where you can play Madden, right, against other fans. You can take a picture with a Lombardi Trophy. You can engage with different activities and actually enter to win a trip to the Super Bowl at the end of the season. And we have multiple games. So that's in real life experiential opportunities that usually fans wouldn't get. And it attaches your brand to a great moment in time when you're visiting the stadium. So it's a whole ecosystem that you need to now drive in order to truly engage the fan and your brand to come to the top.
But when I do see your brand and when I recognize it showing up, it is very broadcast and experiential. Is that fair?
It is. Yeah. I believe we're strong on social media, considerably strong in social media. We've seen the importance of being present during those conversations, and we're showing up more. And we're leveraging the star power of the athletes that we partner with to also help us tell that story in a more authentic way. So we're definitely diversifying our approach to sports and how we show up.
And Roderick, we talked about the aspiration for the brand, making it a more social connotation in the mind of the consumer. Let's talk a little bit about tactics. How do you guys try to do what I just was alluding to earlier, which is the before game, the after game, the in game, even? Like what is the team really working on?
Yeah, we're working on it from a couple different angles. One is a partnerships perspective. So we're working with other parties to help us because, I had a recent conversation with one of the partners who made me think a little bit differently. If you're a game day, let's talk about game day. If you're a BetMGM, DraftKings, you think you're competing against each other, but you're actually competing against everything on game day. And so we had to think a little bit differently about who we partner with to really get to the attention of the consumer. And so for us, that's one. So we're working with other partners to help us drive this occasion, this message through their channels as well. So that's one. The second thing is we're doing a high-low approach. So everything you just mentioned, yes, national campaigns, we're doing that, but we're also trying to crack the creator code. And because, attention and share of voice and all those things is very hard, we're trying to crack the creator code in a way that's relevant, timely, and we have a high frequency model. So with those two things that go on top of the traditional ads stuff that we do, It's just really fighting for share of mind space, and we've got to hit the consumer with the message more than once, more than twice. I feel like the Miami Heat talking about championships more than 3 times. We need to hit them like 6, 7 times in ways that's relevant for each segment. So whether it be Hispanic population in Miami that loves FIFA, or it be pickleball, which we also do from a Casamigos perspective, we're just trying to get ingrained with the right partnerships, with the right creators or influences in the right channels to make it feel personal, but also scalable at the same time.
Personal and scalable sounds like a super big challenge for you guys, largely because you were sharing with me that you did a ton of research to determine the difference between the American football fan and the global football fan. With the World Cup coming up and with the opportunities you have for the different food brand portfolios, are you going to get any reuse, any efficiencies from doing something locally and globally, or is it a very different strategy? Different agencies, different creative, the whole thing?
Yeah, I think part of it is going to need to be different, right? In terms, especially creating content for some of those segments that I mentioned, that they're very specific for United States. But some other areas, for example, when I mentioned the fan of the match or the Quaker player escorts, those are activations that we're running globally. So I think we want to create a balance where we can be efficient with what we're creating and how we're talking to consumers when it matters. And then when we feel like there is a very specific behavior that is different, we're going to create different. But a lot of the way we make sure this is authentic as well is how we engage communities in all of those markets differently. So you see our strategy in Mexico for the community. We have the national Mexican sales team, soccer team. Here, we're going to have this partnership with Come and Go to select player squads from underserved communities. So I think that helps as well to leverage big properties, but then activate in a local level.
And Tyler, you said you guys are really keen on making sure sports can tell the B to B to C story, right? So scale and globalization is key to IBM. Can you share some of the recent metrics from either the US Open or the Masters that sort of give the audience a sense of the scale that these apps need to run on, or that IBM's trying to communicate when it actually uses sports as a platform for that narrative?
Yeah, I think there's scale from many different perspectives, right? There's scale of how many people we're reaching worldwide. As I mentioned before, 1 million users or 1 million fans come on site during the US Open, but 14 million users are using that app for 3 weeks. So we scale that infrastructure up 5,000% for tournament time. So we need to have an infrastructure that's scalable, it's redundant, that's able to handle those spikes in traffic. And luckily, we've been working with a team that's a team of experts within IBM Consulting who's been doing live sports for over 30 years.
Yeah, but I've talked to your engineers, and it's just mind-blowing. You're instrumenting the entire golf course.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of these guys will tell you that it's really, interesting to see next-gen stats. Yeah, sure, but it's in a venue. Yeah. You guys are on a golf course, 18 holes. There's sensors. There's all kinds of LiDAR. There's everything out there. It's incredible not only that you capture the data, but then you have to serve it to 14 million fans.
Right, and we have to analyze all that data in real time. So for the Masters, there's 20,000 shots that take place. When you're watching it on Paramount.
Wait, what's the number? 20,000?
20,000 shots from the golfers. And we capture every shot, every player, every hole. We clip it. We put it on the app. We put it on the website. You don't miss a beat. You could favorite your favorite players. You could also you could see every shot, every player of all your favorite players in a seamless playlist that's personalized to you. But you could also select the most exciting shots. So we're using AI behind the scenes, which we, as I said, we don't shout from the rooftops. But we're using AI to come up with the most exciting shots that infuse that playlist, so that you're not just watching your favorite players, you're also not missing any of those shots as well.
All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure you guys all get a final word here. We talked a little bit about pickleball. Probably shouldn't end on that topic because it's something we all play, but probably not all watch on TV. But I do love the idea of you guys going down the line here and talking about an emerging sport, something that's coming next, somewhere you think your brand should show up, and leave everybody here with some thoughts about where that will be the next time they see PepsiCo, Lowe's, Casamigo, and IBM. You go first.
Okay, I think the first thing for us is we're still establishing ourselves in soccer. And this is very important for us. So I think the World Cup is going to be next one, the milestone for us in terms of like bringing these associations of the sport. And when we look at the growth of the sport, it's still like it's growing 50%, but it's still the top four, it's top four. I can in the next 5 years, top three, top two. So we want to get this association with soccer first, and it's very important for us, as we have already with American football and basketball, big time.
Right? Love it. Futures now, football, PepsiCo. Gerardo.
Well, we're always looking at opportunities, but the reality is funds are also limited, right? And as Gustavo mentioned, we still have runway, and particularly with the growth we continue to see with the NFL, but soccer again, right? And we're well embedded into soccer. We have this partnership with Messi that is going to take us through the World Cup and help us be part of that conversation in a very authentic way. So we're super excited about that. But then is how will soccer, leapfrog in terms of audiences and reach in the U.S. And we're going to continue focusing on growing there because it's going to change the landscape of the sports in the U.S.
Roderick?
I'm going to take the smaller version of this, and I say social occasions that bring people together where you're participating. Recreation. It could be recreational, adult rec leagues, so pickleball, paddleball, those are things where you're participating in them. Golf, of course, all these things are things you socialize with your friends, small groups of people come together. And if you get your product or a tradition ingrained in that, that becomes history repeating itself, repeatable consumption. So for me, it's like the social occasions that bring people together where you're active. So that could be golf, pickleball, all the things that are getting people to move around a little bit.
Yeah, and this sportainment category is bonkers, right? Like the idea that there's chicken and pickle or city pickleball or all these things where it's like the bar is there. Yeah. You're playing and then you don't have to go afterwards.
And the person who came up with Topgolf was just like entertainment, bringing two things that people love together, and then you have a bar of food.
Hit a ball, drink. Hit a ball, drink. Yeah. Tyler.
Yeah, so I mentioned the long-standing partnerships, but we're always looking for new ones. We just announced 2 new partnerships in November, one with Ferrari F1 as well as UFC. But thinking ahead, obviously World Cup, because that falls around the same time as the U.S. Open and Wimbledon from our other partnerships. And I know that's going to consume a lot of the buzz and the storylines and the excitement. So I think that's really an interesting place where we should play.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the last minute here to share with you guys a little bit of our research. We have been, for the last few years, focused on this idea of a fluid fan. The fluid fan is open to change, they're empowered to choose, and they're continuously evolving. Every time there's a new technology, that changes the fan experience. So the way these brands have to constantly stay on top of their game to be in the moment and be relevant is super, super challenging. So respect across the board here. And the other thing that was really interesting about this idea of the fluid fan was we said, look, these fans will move from one thing to another. When it's really cool to watch rugby, they'll go check it out. When it's really cool to go see a pickleball match, they'll go check it out. Less so in Europe, less so in the rest of the world. We were talking about this before. There is still very much an ingrained sort of generational fandom that I think is dominating that. So the way brands show up, the way they have to think about showing up in different geographies is still an incredible challenge. You guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for joining us. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.